Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for hitting the like button. If you haven't already, why don't you make this the video that you subscribe to the channel? And please don't forget to hit the like button for the algorithm. It really helps out the channel and would mean a lot to me. The first story is called The New Supervisor. I had a job making cheese. Being that it was a family business for them, the whole family worked in various jobs around the farm. While I was the head cheesemaker, the youngest son was the one the family wanted to take over my job at some point. So as he was school age, I trained him sometimes for his work experience so he could eventually fill in when I was sick of management and left. Now, I had been daily reporting to my manager, the mother, and they wanted a bit of change. The kid was out of school and working on the farm and plant more now. So he was instituted as a supervisor in the plant, literally to keep an eye on me and my speedy work. It was a pain as he would go home after work and nitpick that I was doing something wrong or this and that. Let me reiterate that I trained him and had a few years of experience, and this guy was 17. So I was reporting to my manager, and she said finally, "You can just tell my son the problems instead of me." I mentioned that he's a kid, she's the owner, and we are dealing with a pricey food product. She insisted, so cue compliance. We started to find some black specks. Nothing major, but a little bit of our impellers for mixing or something was breaking down. I told the supervisor about it and we started to look for the cause. For about 2 weeks we had this issue on and off, and I nor him could find anything. I was under the full impression that he was telling his mom about this, as I was supposed to report to him now and they lived together. Well, after about 3 weeks of this occasional issue, I just happened to casually mention to my manager that we haven't found the cause of the specs yet. She freaked out at me. She had not heard a peep about a quality issue with the cheese, no one had told her, and how dare I not mention it to her. I referred back to her kid being my supervisor, and that I was supposed to tell him. She was pretty peeved and I got reamed out for following her instructions. That was more or less the straw that broke the camel's back, and I left to do my own thing. Their cheese isn't as good as mine now. The next story is called Done by the Books. I work as a freelance artist doing advertisement, ticket and program booklet designs for various police and firefighter events that give to children's charities. It's not consistent work, but it pays pretty well for what it is. The people I work with directly are a promotions company that was created to sell the advertisement space and tickets. I've been working for them for a long time. Throughout 2020, these people were essentially my only source of income, so I had to put up with their BS. Mostly having to put up with having to hear the check is in the mail for 2 or 3 months before it actually arrives. I convinced the owner of the company to download PayPal so I could be paid in a reasonable time. He was confused on how to use it, so I told him about Cash App. I was paid through Cash App only once before he said, "I just want to keep doing this by the book. This website you are sending me to looks scammy." And because I don't work for him, I work for the unions and they are the ones cutting the checks. I asked him if he really wants to do that. Of course, he said yes. Cue malicious compliance. He's becoming quite upset with me since he realized doing it by the book actually gives me all of the leverage. From that point forward, I had begun putting my logo watermark on every single thing I sent him. The first time he experienced this was with show tickets. He asked me to remove the watermark and send it to the printers. He was satisfied with the work. I told him the watermark will come off when there's money in my account. He told me that he can't start making sales until he has the tickets to sell, thus he doesn't have the money to pay me. Oh man, that's bad. Better figure out how to pay me electronically then. Here's my Bitcoin and Ethereum wallets, PayPal and Cash App infos, as well as info for direct deposit. He insisted he couldn't pay me before he has the tickets, so he agreed to a 50% price increase for me to release the files to him without pay, and with my company's logo on them. I actually got paid for that today. The second time was with a show poster. The same instance occurred, only this time I was told I'd have to talk to the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, about being paid, since I work for them. They were very confused when I called them. An hour later I got an angry phone call and was paid via direct deposit from the promoter's business account, not the FOP's account. This morning was pretty interesting. He called me up while meeting with the police association to talk about cutting me a check for the last show that happened yesterday. On this call I was asked about bank transfers, asked how to make a Bitcoin wallet, all that good stuff. But the promoter asked why my invoice stated that I am no longer accepting checks as a form of payment. "Are you sure you want me to answer that in this meeting?" I asked him. He said yes, so I told him while he was on speakerphone with his boss. Because you don't pay me for months when we do checks. I only accept online or bank transfers. There was a little back and forth between him and the guy from the police association. It didn't sound like Mr. Promoter was having a good time. I was told I would get a call back about payment. Well, I received that call from the police association, not the promotion agency. I've been paid via PayPal and they apologized profusely. When I got the call from the promoter afterward, he had a very upset tone. He asked why I'm doing all this. Well sir, you told me you wanted it done by the book, right? This is by the book. We didn't do it by the book before, because I've worked with you for years and your son is my best friend. So this is how it will be from now on. We'll see how it turns out. I'm confident I won't be losing any work, since the police associations, firefighters and other organizations have repeatedly told me how great my work looks, and how I often work at half the price of other freelancers. The last story is called, Did You Place That Order? Some 20 years ago, I found myself working in a small manufacturing company in what was my first job out of college. There were a few red flags during the interview process, which I dutifully ignored as I was desperate for my first real job. Being a small family company, the role consisted of basically 3 jobs rolled into one, which was production scheduling, procurement and inventory control. On my first day on the job, I learned the person hiring me had already quit. The person training me had 2 days left at the company, and the average length of employment for my position was 4 to 5 months. They warned me that the CEO was a micromanaging psycho. I reasoned with my naive self that the guys on the floor were just hazing the new guy. I met the CEO, Chad, later that day and we got along fine for the first 3 months. The thing about this factory is that they were gaining business fast and were ramping up production by buying new equipment and hiring more workers. The business was in a large growth stage. As we live in a small, impoverished and isolated country, we had to buy our raw materials from overseas, which had a shipping time of 3 months. I modeled the trajectory of sales and moved to order materials every month so that we had a pipeline of materials coming in at regular intervals. When Chad discovered this, he yelled at me and told me to cancel the orders. His reasoning was that we did not need that much raw material and it was a waste of cash flow. I did as I was told, as I was new to the company and thought, surely the CEO should know his business better than I, right? Well, for the rest of the time I was working there, we were always running short on materials. I'd always have to problem solve when we ran out of materials, such as offering free expensive upgrades with more expensive material we had in stock to our customers. The thing that really irked Chad was that I was constantly ordering raw materials from our competitors. I built a good rapport with these companies and they enjoyed charging us an arm and a leg for their materials. By the time my 1-year mark at the company came around, Chad absolutely detested me. He would come to my workstation on a regular basis to berate me for not doing my job properly, questioning my integrity, threatening my job and even accusing me of theft of raw materials. Being a fresh new grad, I'd keep quiet and just took it on the chin as he cussed me out. All the while I was thinking, I'm the one busting a gut here working through walls and getting product out the door while you make stupid decisions which I always have to clean up. The entire factory shop floor hated Chad. He had a window in his office on the 2nd floor overlooking the factory. He would stand there with his arms crossed, looking at the flaps working below. Every second day he would go on a warpath into the factory floor to yell and threaten staff. As winter rolled around, we had a large order come in from one of our biggest customers, which required a large quantity of expensive and bulky raw material. Chad instructed me to order 3 containers of raw materials for the job, which I did straight away. A few days later, I realized I was getting shakes on the Sunday before coming into work, as I was stressed, dreading the new incoming week. The next day, I put in my notice for 2 weeks without securing another job. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders and I felt in control of my life again. I slept very well that night. To this day, I still think it was one of the best decisions I have made in my life, as I put my mental health ahead of a steady income. Thankfully, I had an understanding significant other. A couple of days later, I get a call from our supplier, saying they couldn't manufacture and deliver the 3 containers of expensive raw materials for us and cancel the order. A familiar feeling of dread washed over me, as I know I'll have to inform Chad of the cancellation, and I am sure to get chewed out again for no apparent reason. I sit on this for a few days, trying to gather enough courage to have a conversation with Chad about the problem. When there was about 1 more week left of my notice period, I am summoned into a meeting with Chad and one of his advisors. They wanted to discuss a handover plan for my post successor. As we were wrapping up the meeting, I braced myself as I was about to inform him of our upcoming shortage in materials. Then he looks up from his documents and asks, "Did you place the order for 3 containers of X materials?" I pause and suddenly realize that this is it. Here's my out. I stall, pretending to think, then say, "Yes, I placed that order last week, right after our meeting." I just choose not to tell him about the cancellation. He didn't ask after all. The rest of my time there was uneventful and stress-free, and as I left to go to the car park on my last day, I flipped off the company logo on the side of the building and went on my merry way. Now, these raw materials were bulky, as in they needed a crane to move them around. The reason why we buy so large and in bulk is that it's more cost efficient. By the time they found out about the cancellation of the special order, it was too late. My friend, who still worked there, informed me that they had to scramble to find materials and buy from our competitors at inflated prices. The problem was that our competitors only had materials that were not of optimum size, so there was a huge wastage. I'm talking many tons. A lot of overtime was required as they were really awkward in size to handle. At the end of the job, Chad let it slip at a staff meeting that yours truly had cost the company an extra $600K for that little bit of non-information sharing. I drove by that factory 4 years later and found that it was shut down. And now it's your time to shine. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.